You are standing on platform 9 3/4 with an owl inside a cage and a trunk that seems too large for your small body. The locomotive's smoke wraps around your legs. There are children nearby laughing at things you don't yet understand, using words you don't yet know, carrying the history of entire families inside their last names. You have none of that. You have the letter. You have the letter and the feeling that, for the first time in your life, you belong somewhere. This is what it seems to be, an invitation. A discovery. The revelation that the world is larger than you imagined, and that there is a place inside that world reserved specifically for you. The letter did not arrive by mistake. The name was yours. That means something. What it really is, a sorting. Hogwarts did not choose you because you are special. Hogwarts chose you because you possess a capacity the system needs to cultivate. There is a difference between being loved and being useful, and you are not yet mature enough to realize these two things may never overlap. On the train, you meet a boy with poorly combed hair and a girl with teeth slightly too large for her face. They become the center of your world. Everything feels simple like that: friendship, adventure, belonging. You arrive at the castle and the sorting hat is placed on your head, and for one instant only, you feel something speak from inside to inside. It is not a voice. It is an evaluation. Silent, clinical, like a blade that separates what you think you are from what you might become. It announces your house. The table erupts in applause. You smile because there is nothing else to do. You have gained belonging, but surrendered, in that moment, the right to never be catalogued. What you gain: a home, a uniform, a set of rules that feel like protection. A teacher who believes in you. A house that welcomes you. What you lose: the possibility of being undefined. Of being multiple. From here on, you belong to your house, and that means you do not belong entirely to yourself. The truth you discover, but do not yet understand: Hogwarts is not a school. It is a selection system. And you just passed through the first filter. Level 2, the promising one. 2 years pass. You have learned to pronounce spells without stumbling over them. You have learned that the angle of the wrist matters as much as the intention, that magic is not only will, it is discipline repeated until the will and the body speak the same language. You have good grades. Not the best, but good. And then a professor looks at you differently during class. Not the look of someone correcting. The look of someone observing. He calls you after class. He says you have potential. Potential is a word most people use as a compliment, but when spoken by someone with power inside a hierarchical system, it is actually a declaration of intent. He is not praising you. He is recruiting you. You don't know that. You feel the warmth of recognition in your chest and mistake it for affection. He recommends books outside the curriculum. Invites you to extra sessions after dinner. Introduces you to spells your classmates won't learn for 2 more years. Each session makes you feel you are ahead, that you are seeing beyond the curtain. Each new piece of knowledge is also a rope tying you more deeply to the system and its guardians. Your friend with the poorly combed hair begins to notice you disappear after dinner. Your friend with the large teeth asks where you learned that transfiguration technique. You say you were practicing. It is not a lie. But it is not the whole truth. It is your first voluntary omission, and it goes unnoticed because the intention was only to protect something you feared losing. What it seems to be: development. Accelerated growth. Being seen. What it really is: premature specialization. The system identified where you can be most useful and is shaping you in that direction before you are old enough to choose otherwise. What you gain: real skill. The feeling that there is a path ahead of you that others cannot see. A kind of solitude you still interpret as distinction. What you lose: horizontal curiosity. The ability to learn for the pure pleasure of it, without agenda, without purpose assigned by another. You begin to study to meet an expectation that is not yours. And the problem with studying to meet expectations is that you forget to ask whose expectations you are meeting and why. The truth you discover: not every teacher who chooses you is on your side. Some are on the side of what you can do for them. Level 3, the indispensable one. You are 15 years old and there is already a version of you that you use inside the castle and another you keep for the dormitory when the lights are out and the others are sleeping. The version that walks the corridors of Hogwarts knows exactly how to position itself, knows which professors need admiration and which need results, knows that magic is not only technique, it is also politics, and that politics is the art of making people believe their choices were their own. You were made a prefect. Not because the teachers think you have good character, you do, but that is incidental. You were made a prefect because you are reliable within the system. Reliable means predictable. It means you will not question the rules in public. It means that when there is a conflict between what is fair and what is necessary for the institution, you will choose the institution. You don't know yet that you will do this, but you will. It happens during a Ministry of Magic inspection. A younger student from your house has discovered something he should not have. Something about how certain decisions by the professors favored specific families. Something small but true. He came to you because you are the prefect, because you represent justice within the walls of the castle. You listen, you think, and then you do what the system has trained you to do. You weigh the cost of conflict against the cost of silence, and you choose silence. You tell the boy you will investigate. You do not investigate. The inspection passes. The boy looks at you in the corridor 3 days later with an expression you will carry for years, not of anger, but of understanding. He understood something about you before you understood it about yourself. This is the crossing. This is the moment you step over the line. You did not use dark magic. You did not directly hurt anyone. But you chose the system over a person, and that kind of choice does not happen once. It creates an internal precedent. A silent moral calibration that says, when forced to choose, you know what to choose. And the system knows that you know. Your friend with the large teeth confronts you one afternoon. She says you have changed. You say you have grown up. Both things can be true at the same time, but only one of them is honest. What it seems to be: responsibility, maturity, leadership. What it really is: co-optation. You were promoted precisely because you demonstrated you can be used to maintain order. Your position is not a reward for your merit. It is an instrument of control that you exercise on others without realizing it also controls you. What you gain: real authority inside the castle. The respect of professors who previously did not see you. A sense of purpose that fills the space's loneliness left behind. What you lose: the possibility of being unpredictable, of acting on moral instinct without calculating institutional consequences. You have become too reliable to be free. The truth you discover: indispensable and trapped are different words describing the same position. Level 4, the instrument. You are 18 years old and you are sitting in a room most Hogwarts students will never see. It is a room without windows, with a long table and dark wooden chairs. There are 3 people from the Ministry of Magic and 2 senior professors. They explain to you, with the polished and precise language of people who have already decided, that there is a mission, that you were chosen, that what is at stake is greater than any individual interest. You realize, sitting there, that your entire trajectory inside Hogwarts was a preparation for this moment. Every professor who mentored you, every promotion, every responsibility, all of it built a profile. And the profile served this: so that when the time came, you would say yes before you even heard the full question. The mission is not illegal. It is not clearly wrong. It is, like everything in the system, ambiguous enough that your conscience cannot find solid ground from which to say no with any real firmness. It involves monitoring certain groups of students. It involves reports. It involves building a file on behaviors the ministry considers suspicious. It involves, in essence, converting the trust your peers place in you into information that flows upward through the hierarchy. You think about the boy who came to you years ago with that small and true discovery. You think about him for about 3 seconds. And then you sign. There is no dramatic moment. There is no voice telling you that you are crossing a point of no return. There is only a pen and a paper and the quiet conviction that the reasons are good enough. The reasons are always good enough. Systems have learned never to ask you to do something clearly wrong. They have learned to ask you to do something complicated, for understandable reasons, with consequences that will only become visible later, when there is no longer any way to undo them. You carry out the mission. You are efficient. You discover that it is possible to look into the eyes of the people you are monitoring and feel a kind of functional dissociation, a separation between the you who participates in the conversation and the you who is cataloging. It is a skill. And like every skill acquired at a high cost, it does not disappear once you stop using it. Your friend with the poorly combed hair calls you one afternoon. He has heard something. He asks you directly. You deny it with a precision that frightens you, not because the lie was difficult, but because it was easy. You realize, as you hang up, that there is a part of you that no longer feels the weight of things that should weigh something. What it seems to be: service. Protection of the greater good. Loyalty to the institution that formed you. What it really is: complete instrumentalization. You are no longer a student, nor a prefect, nor a promising young wizard. You are a function within a structure. And functions do not have dilemmas, they have tasks. What you gain: access to the highest floor of the system. Privileged information. The feeling that you are on the right side of history, which is the feeling the system distributes to those who execute well what needs to be executed. What you lose: the ability to feel indignant without calculating. Moral spontaneity. The reflex to defend someone before thinking about the consequences. You lost that so gradually that there is no specific day on which you could have prevented it. The truth you discover: you were not trained to think. You were trained to execute with enough intelligence to not notice the difference. Level 5, the system. You are 32 years old. You no longer live at Hogwarts, but Hogwarts lives in you in a way that physical places rarely manage. You have a position at the Ministry of Magic with a title that no one outside the third-floor corridor can fully pronounce without losing interest. You have an office. You have subordinates. You have 8 in the morning meetings where people younger than you look up waiting for the week's moral calibration. It is in these meetings that you realize you have become the professor who called you after class when you were 12. Not the professor as a person, you did not even like him as a person. But you have become the function he performed. You look at the young people in the room and already know, with a precision that briefly embarrasses you, which of them have the right profile. Which of them can be shaped. Which of them will yield at the right moments and advance at the necessary ones. You select them. You invite them to extra meetings. You recommend books outside the official curriculum. You are perpetuating the system. Not out of malice. Out of competence. And that is the most sophisticated form of perpetuation, when there is no bad intention, only the fluid reproduction of a pattern that works so well that no one thinks to question whether it should exist. There is an afternoon when you run into your friend with the large teeth. She is a teacher now, at a small school outside London, non-magical, where she teaches children who will never know Hogwarts exists. She seems light. You find yourself watching her for longer than feels natural, and she asks what is wrong, and you say nothing, and it is the first time in many years that you lie without calculating. It is an old reflex. It is a longing for when lying still costs something. She asks if you are okay. You say you are fine. She looks at you with that expression that was always too honest for the world you inhabit, and she says, "You look tired in a way that sleep does not fix." You laugh. You change the subject. But the words stay. You are tired in a way that sleep does not fix. You know what that is. It is the tiredness of having lent parts of yourself to the construction of something larger, and of no longer being able to count what was lent and what was lost forever. That night, you stand at the window of your apartment. You think about leaving. You think about it concretely, requesting a transfer, resigning, going somewhere no one pronounces your last name with the tone of someone who knows you by your position. You think about it with the seriousness of someone genuinely considering it. And then you go to bed. Because leaving feels like loss. Because you have built too much here to start from zero somewhere else. Because the system taught you, slowly and impeccably, to measure your value by what you represent within it, and outside of it you are not quite sure what you are. You know what you do. You know where you sit. You know who respects you and why. These things seem like little until the moment you imagine them absent, and then they seem like everything. What it seems to be, arrival. Achievement. The fulfillment of a potential that was recognized decades ago by someone who saw what you could become. What it really is, the point where the system and the individual have become indistinguishable. You are no longer inside the system. You are one of its functional parts. And parts do not leave. Parts are replaced when they stop working. What you gain, everything the system has to offer. Power, position, prestige, the permanent feeling of importance. The room without windows is now your room. You are the one who sits at the head of the table. What you lose, the question. The fundamental question you should have asked before, what do I want to build with my life, was replaced so gradually by what does the system need me to build that you can no longer hear the two things as distinct. The truth you discover when it is too late to change the architecture of who you are. Hogwarts did not form you as a wizard. Hogwarts formed you as Hogwarts. You learned every spell. You mastered every technique. You climbed every level that exists to be climbed inside this ancient and powerful system that existed for centuries before you and will exist for centuries after. But there is one magic no Hogwarts textbook teaches, the magic of remaining who you were before you were discovered. That one you never learned. And the heaviest part of that is not the loss itself. The heaviest part is that you no longer know if you would have wanted to learn it.